the name of the game here is learning how to prompt it correctly so that it gives you a much better result, right? It generates a really good response that you can utilize. But like Chelsea said, I never would recommend going in there and copy and pasting.
Hey everyone, welcome to the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, where we celebrate the S.O.B that you are, and if you haven't figured it out yet, we mean small-owned business. We don't mean S.O.B.
Listen, we know that as a small business owner, you are working hard on the daily to keep your business fully operational while trying to promote it. And while some days it may feel like the business is owning you, if we're being honest with each other, I bet you would admit that you wouldn't give up the insanity for anything.
Our commitment here at the S.O.B Marketing Podcast is to give you the real talk, what works when it comes to advertising, marketing, promoting your business, and then what doesn't really work.
And Chelsea and I promise to always keep the conversation real.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the S.O.B Marketing Podcast. S.O.B as in small-owned business, not S.O.B as in S.O.B. We're not calling you guys names. Just really quick, we want to say, if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, please let us know. You can send us an email at help@theseasonedmarketer.com. You can send us a DM. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment. Basically, we want to talk about whatever you guys want to hear about when it comes to marketing and small business. So, Vivian, what are we talking about today?
Well, Chelsea, before I share what our topics could be for today, I do want to make an important note here. You guys, reviews are so important to us. Please, if you are listening to this podcast, if you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment, leave us a review on whatever platform you're streaming this on. So that way we know if you are enjoying the topics that we're covering. But today, Chelsea, we are going to leave our small business owner friends with something to mull on because we are all about saving time and making things more efficient. Listen, you guys, we know you are running a business. The amount of time that you're spending with content creation, all this other stuff, it's taking away some of the time that you can actually be applying towards the operations or maybe even creating your products. And so we want to give you some of that time back by today sharing our three favorite AI tools that we personally use on a daily basis. And I know Chelsea has some really great rave reviews on these. So if anything, we're hoping that what this does is it spurs just a little excitement for you to actually go on and start researching what tools you can utilize in your business to get or to save some time.
Absolutely. That I do want to start this conversation with like a PSA.
Oh, I love a good PSA.
Good. You do not want to copy and paste content, right? Like just make sure that you're being smart about how you are using these tools and how you're using them to stay consistent with your branding, everything like that. Just be smart about it, right? Because AI is definitely, like Vivian said in another episode, the big bad wolf.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I said wolf instead, but I meant wolf.
Yeah. So AI is like a hot topic. And I just want to start this conversation by saying, be smart about how you use it. And I'm going to talk about how I personally use all these tools so that you can get an idea of what I mean when I say be smart, right?
And since we're on the topic of PSAs, I have a PSA of my own, Chelsea, and it is, I want to give every small business owner permission to let go of the idea that we have to work hard in order to earn money. Okay. I understand that I have this weird relationship with, I just feel like, I feel good at the end of the day when I know that I've worked really hard that day about X, Y, and Z. These tools, the reason we wanted to do this episode in particular is because if anything, we do want you to reinvest this time into either doing something you want to do with your personal life, right? Because quality of life is so important. And I know that, if you started a business, you probably at some point thought to yourself, dang, I spend a lot of time thinking about my business. Like even when I'm not manually working on it, I spend a lot of time just kind of like thinking about it. So I want you to release the idea that it has to be hard in order for the quality of it or for it to be good. The tools, and especially with AI, I think that's where this relationship comes in, Chelsea, because like we've talked about, AI is kind of seen as the big scary thing. Y'all, it's not going away. And I get that maybe at first we were really weird about the technology because we're like, well, what are they using our data for? And this and that. I think over time, it's going to be the norm.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. Yep.
I want to say it's going to be the norm. It's definitely not going away. That does not mean your privacy concerns should go away.
Right. Right.
If you're using AI like a chatbot or something like that, be very cognizant of the information you are giving it. Because even if they tell you we're not using your data or we're not storing it or whatever, they are. Well, just be really smart about the information you're sharing.
I want to remind you listeners that Chelsea's best friend is in tech, which is why she's trained Chelsea so well to be like, no, there is valid concern.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, she's like, don't do this, don't do that. Here, really quick, sorry. I was looking at getting an iPad and I was like, well, this is what I want to use it for. And this is like what I like the specs I'm kind of looking for. And I just gave it to her. 30 minutes later, she's like, here's the top 3 best choices. Here you go. So
let's give her email address out and she could do this for everybody. If you're looking, I'm joking. All right. So I think, so with these 3 that we're going to talk about today, Chelsea can definitely speak to, and I can too, on like what it's done for our business as far as like what the amount of time it's freed up to allow us to do other things.
And that's a big one. The amount of time that I've saved using some of these tools, one in particular, and you already know what I'm going to talk about, but before I have another PSA, which is
3 PSAs at the beginning of one episode. What is up?
I know, it's crazy, but I do think we also have to talk about the fact that it's so important to remember that AI is not always right. And the information it gives you is not always right. Vivian, do you know about the whole Google AI responses fiasco?
No, tell me.
Oh, girl. Okay, so
fill me in.
We've talked about this. Google is starting to implement an AI search, right? A search generative experience. So basically, you ask a question, you give as many details as possible, and it gives you a very detailed answer, response. Now, recently, the problem was you have to train these chatbots and these AI. Listen, you have to, it doesn't matter. You have to train it.
You have to train the mothership so that the other AIs know what she's talking about.
Yeah, you have to feed them information. So Google was feeding their AI information. Well, part of what they were feeding it was like Reddit shit posts. Do you know what that is?
I know what Reddit is. I don't know in particular what Reddit shit posts are.
It's basically...
Please tell me it's not about actual poop.
Okay. No. Basically, it's a post that there's a question asked, and all of the responses are absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
Like, it's people being funny and sarcastic and, like, just joking around. Like, it's not legit responses. It's not legit, like, advice. And usually the questions are also just so stupid, right?
If you need something to compare it to, I don't know if you guys have seen this trend on Instagram Reels where basically, like, there's one, it's one of my favorite videos. It's a baby who... the dad's a jujitsu like instructor. And so he uses the baby so that it's hilarious as an example, right? And he's like, okay, so when you're going to like choke hold someone, this is what you do. And he shows it on the baby. But the funny part is that, you know, most people will get on there and they'll critique. They'll be like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't do that to the baby because. And so what the trend is now is that they make up completely ridiculous things that are funny about why you shouldn't do it. So basically they're like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't use that baby as your sparring partner, your takedown partner, because eventually his arms are going to be so big and he's not going to be able to, you know, so they take it like to ridiculous places.
Yes.
There's lots of sarcasm laced in it.
That's a great example. So what happened was Google used this information, but it's AI, right? It's a machine. It can't read a sarcasm.
Right.
So people were getting the most ridiculous responses to questions. Like, I'm pretty sure, and I don't know if this has been fixed yet or not, but like if you Googled, if I run across a cliff, will I fall? Google's response would be, if you don't look down and you run across fast enough, you won't fall.
Because you won't notice you're walking on air, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it was stuff like that. So,
well, there are still lots of, and you're right. The truth is that we are, even though AI itself has been around for a while, and I'm pretty surprised at where we're at with the progress of it personally, but there are still a lot of kinks that need to be worked out. And we're just kind of we're at the very beginning of where this whole AI thing is going to take it. So, Chelsea, after our 3 PSAs, I'm sure everyone's like, oh my gosh, snooze fest. I wish these girls would just get into it already.
Just tell me the tools.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So what is your number one tool that you want to talk about?
Number one, dear to my heart, if you listen to this podcast, you already know what I'm going to say. It's Opus Clip.
Yep. Let
me tell you, this software, this service, this company saves me so much time, hours of time. So if you are a small business owner and you're creating a lot of long form video, so let's think these podcast episodes, YouTube videos, maybe you're creating tutorials, stuff like that. Opus Clip, if you upload or link the video, it will take that video and it will create short form clips from that longer video.
So I want to stop you right there. Let me spell this out. Opus Clip, OPUS Clip, if you guys were looking for it. And then the other thing is put a time frame on long form content though, Chelsea, because the thing is some business owners are not going to be to the point, maybe they're thinking about doing a podcast, but maybe they're not doing a podcast or YouTube videos. What other content could they potentially be creating that they could utilize Opus Clip for?
Sure. Well, I think a great example, like I just said, is tutorials. So if you have like a 5-minute tutorial on how to use your product, Opus Clip can absolutely clip that to make it nice, short, and sweet so that you can share that information on your social media.
And I know you said that the way you use it is, for example, you post our podcast episode on YouTube. You take the YouTube link and you literally just paste it into the platform, and then it generates all these short form, and you get to choose if you want the clip to be 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or 90 seconds, right? You get to tell it what type of clips you want. Yeah. Let's say somebody isn't using YouTube or uploading that long form content. Can they just upload like a MP4 or like the native file and have Opus Clip do that?
Yes, absolutely. I actually, depending on where I am in my day-to-day, sometimes we have not released the podcast episode yet, so I don't have a link, but I want to already start creating these clips, so I'll just upload the file itself. I will say, for us specifically, because our episodes can be anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour, that's not the best thing for me to do. It's quicker when I just use the link, the YouTube link. But Absolutely. If you're creating tutorials and they're like 5 minutes long, you can just upload the video.
That's awesome. I think the cool thing about that is if you guys are not creating like 30-minute videos or content, it doesn't matter. You could do it for something that, like Chelsea said, if you have a 5-minute clip, right? And then you want to turn that 5-minute video into those short, what do you think, Chelsea? Because I think I already know why you love this tool so much. Okay. It's not just because it's time saving, but I feel like it's also because of the quality of these short form videos it gives you. What do you say to that? Like, what's the best thing about the videos they're generating for you?
I find that Opus Clip, the short form clips that they create, are much more intuitive to what I'm going to be using the content for, right? So for example, we use Riverside for our podcasting, and I love Riverside. They're great. That's why we use them. And they have an AI themselves that will also generate little short form clips from your video. I will say Opus Clip, the quality of their clips is 10 times better.
Yeah. And I will say on my end, what I really like, and I think is super helpful that they do, and they nail down pretty good, is, okay, so let's say Chelsea inserts a 10-minute video and it gives her, for one, the plethora of options in the videos it gives you. So in any video, they'll give you anywhere from like, 6 to 15 options.
Girl, it's more like 6 to like, I think the most I've ever gotten is 32.
That's wild. I've never had it give me that many, but you're also uploading, I think, longer content than I am. Yeah. So, all right. So it gives you a plethora of options. But then the other thing is, with those options, it gives you a score. And the score is then, so that score will be anywhere from 0 to 100. Obviously, 100 is like, you want it closer to that because that means it's a good quality video. Now, what factors are they taking in to determine the quality of that video? They're taking in stuff like, does it have an engaging hook? Does it keep people's watch time, right? Is it going to be engaging enough that they're going to watch it all the way through? Is the topic relevant? So that's what I like.
I'm going to say, they give you the score. They also explain why they gave it that score.
Yes. Yes. And that's what I like, because at the very top, it's like the video is here to the left, and then to the right, it's got the score. It's got the grades that it gives for each one of those: engaging hook, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then it's got the description, which is their reasoning for why they're giving that score. And I think it does give you some insight into how short form video content is kind of, going. Now, I will say I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it, because it makes me a little sad, Chelsea. Like, it makes me sad that we consume so much content and that we feel like we have to get things out in like the first 3 seconds of anything, because I'm like, where have the days gone where we can just like mellow out, chill out, and we weren't so like depraved of like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. And we've been discussing short form content and social media content this entire week, because if you don't know, I am a strange Gen Z person. I don't use TikTok. Because I don't use TikTok, it is harder for me to create TikTok content. And also, it's just so hard to create content, you guys. Sometimes, like, we are right there with you, creating content that's going to be catchy and engaging. It has to be the perfect length. It can't be too long. Like, this week, I'm just fed up with everyone's short attention spans.
If the seasoned marketer suddenly goes offline and you guys see us MIA and everything, it's because Chelsea has had it. She's gone rogue, and she's like going to be picketing and boycotting TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. She's gonna say we ain't doing it no more. No, I'm glad you brought that up, Chelsea, because I think there's also this misconception that if you're in it day to day, it gets a lot easier, which there are parts of it that do get easier, but because they're constantly evolving, the game is always changing. And so we're right there with you guys where we're having to learn the rules to all these games as well. And I think that's the part that sometimes as an old 40-year-old lady, I'm like, makes me a little sad because I'm like, I remember back in the day when we didn't have to play all these games.
Yeah.
Just to sell products and services. But anyway, so
I do want to say with Opus Clips, I'm sorry, real quick. I do want to say with Opus Clip, there's no S, you guys. I just keep on adding an S, but there is no S. You can also edit the video. So let's say you don't like where the video ends. You can cut that piece off. You can change the captions. You can ask for no captions. You can move stuff around, change the formatting. So you don't have to be okay with whatever they give you. Also, just want to point that out.
No, this is a great point because if you have been wanting to upload, whether that's YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok videos that have captions in there, and you just haven't found a platform that will do it the way you want, Opus Clip is a great option, if not just for that reason by itself. Because I will say what I do like about it too is the options in the font styles and the styles of the captions that it gives you, because I feel like it's more in line with what is actually what they're doing on the platforms, right?
Yeah.
Whereas some of the other editing software, you know, doesn't really get it, as it's a little more manual, or it doesn't mirror the trends that are going on within the platform. So if that's something you're looking for, check out Opus Clip.
Nice. Okay. Well, my second tool then is going to be a classic, and we've talked about it so many times as well.
The OG. The OG.
The OG, ChatGPT.
GPT.
This entire episode is going to be me not knowing how to talk, you guys. My bad. ChatGPT.
Yes.
We still use it. How we use it has definitely changed, at least for me personally. There is a new update. I just want to say that. So according to OpenAI, which is the company, this new update gives you more conversational responses.
You stopped the sentence right there. Which is the company that what?
That creates Chat GPT.
Okay, so OpenAI creates ChatGPT. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they had said with this new update, the responses are less wordy, it's more direct, it's more conversational. Also, because AI has to be fed information, this new update has been fed information all the way up to December 2023.
Wow. Okay, that's a big change, because if I remember correctly, the last update they had done was from 2020, wasn't it? Or something like that?
Girl, no. The last one was April 2023. But I will say a lot happens between April and December.
No. I'm sorry. I misspoke on that. What I intended to say was not that the last update they did was in April 2023. What I meant was they used to pull information only up to 2020.
What I am saying is they have been pulling information. Yeah.
Okay.
Later.
Well, good for OpenAI, because they have been keeping up with that. Because when I think this was sometime either last year or something, that was the one thing that always shocked me. When people were talking about ChatGPT when it first kind of came out.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, I'm using it for all this stuff. And I had read somewhere that they were only pulling information since like 2020. And I was like, wait a second. That was like, for one, during like, you know, COVID. And then second of all, you know, that was a couple years back. So like, how could you be relying on information that was like 2 years outdated or something at that point? But
absolutely. And towards the beginning, they definitely had a lot of outdated information. I don't know their exact timeline, but they have managed to pick back up, catch back up.
Okay, awesome. So, all right, so they did this update, and now the information is more relevant. If you guys are wondering why that's so important and why we're even bringing that up in the conversation, it's because if you, depending on what you're using it for, and if you're putting in a prompt, and the only information it's pulling from is outdated, it's going to give you not so good responses. And so that's why Chelsea's saying, like, you know, copy and pasting something would not bode in your favor if you're copying and pasting, you know, irrelevant information. So Chelsea, how do you use it? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, real quick, with copy and pasting, also, another reason why you don't want to do it is because ChatGPT is pulling information from other sources, right? So you don't know if they're changing the wording or if they're just pulling it. So if you copy and paste, you definitely run the risk of plagiarizing.
Which is a big deal. Y'all don't want to be doing that.
No, it is a really big deal. But to answer your question on how I personally use ChatGPT, I made the P very strong to make sure. The way that I use it is I write all of our captions and descriptions for our podcast episodes, for our social media, all of that stuff. Nowadays, it is so important for all of your wording, all of your copy, which is your words, to be optimized, like keyword optimized, right?
Right.
So what I do is I write these descriptions or these captions, and then I ask ChatGPT to rewrite it so that it is optimized for this specific keyword, right?
Can I tell you, I think we need to get a shirt that says in like regular font size, Chat G, and then with the P being like really big. Okay. Emphasis on the P. T. Well, good. Okay. So, and I think that's one of the ideas and probably one of the most common things that people, small business owners are using Chat GPT for. But let me also toss out a couple of ideas that maybe you're not thinking about.
Okay.
If you are struggling to maybe find your target audience, you can actually prompt ChatGPT to help you narrow down your target audience. But what I'm talking about is getting really specific about, like, okay, this is the product that I sell. You describe your product. This is the person, the target audience that I'm trying to reach, right? Female, mom, age 25 to 50, you know, 5, this and that. Put in there some lifestyle factors, right? This is probably the income level they're at, blah, 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 blah. And then you could say something like, generate the top 3 pain points that they would have regarding whatever your product or service is related to. It will actually come back and generate some of those pain points. And what you use those for is then when you're creating your content, you're saying, if I speak to these pain points, if I tell them like, hey, I know this is what you're struggling with, or I know day to day, this is what gets under your skin, but I have the solution, then you're able to create even better content that is going to make people feel seen and heard.
That is such a great example. And I love that you brought that up because I focus on all of our social media marketing. That is my primary role. So everything that I talk about is going to be social media related, but that is a great example of how small business owners can really utilize ChatGPT. Vivian, is it still in the works? But we have a free download, or we will have a free download for you guys. It will be ChatGPT prompts that you can use. So wording, how to ask these specific questions to help your small business.
By the time this episode is out, it will be up and available. So Chelsea will be able to put the link down below for those ChatGPT prompts. If you need just a couple ideas on how you can utilize that AI tool, that's maybe a little outside the box and not just the typical like, hey, use it just for the social media. We'll include all of that in there as well. Chelsea, I also want to bring up the fact too that what I love about it is a great idea generator. And I don't mean like I go in there and I say, give me ideas for very specifically. But what I will do is like, if I'm having a mind block on a particular topic that I want to do for an email, what I'll do is I'll go in there and I'll tell it like, who the email is targeted for, what you could take the pain points that they've given you, what the pain points are, and then just say like, can you generate an email for me that speaks to this particular thing? What you do is I don't ever go in there and like copy the email, but what I do is I read it and then it usually prompts me in my head to say, oh, taking one small like point of that, or I'll pull a sentence out and I'm like, gosh, okay, well then I can craft an entire email around this one idea. But I'm not sitting there asking it to like, you can, if you want, ask it to list out ideas. The other thing, if you guys are thinking about doing podcast or YouTube videos, you can actually ask it to write a YouTube script for you. Or now, the name of the game here is learning how to prompt it correctly so that it gives you a much better result, right? It generates a really good response that you can utilize. But like Chelsea said, I never would recommend going in there and copy and pasting the YouTube script because for one, it seems janky. Because it's still, it's still a machine writing it. And that's not how you want to come across, right? You want everything to be personable. So I don't ever like copy and paste it. But what I would do is skim it and look to see if their perspective gives me anything that I haven't thought about. Right. So if it's like, oh, I would include a scene of this and that in there. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that maybe does like track. Like that probably would be a very interesting thing to like include in there, or that perspective. I hadn't thought about that. So it definitely helps with the idea generation and just getting some of that moving when you're struggling. Do you love making crafts and working on your small business but struggle to get them in front of customers?
Do craft fairs, events, or pop-ups leave you feeling overwhelmed or frustrated?
Introducing Rock Your Fair, the course designed to help you succeed in the world of craft fairs, pop-ups, and events, created by two marketing professionals with over 15 years of experience. Rock Your Fair is perfect for anyone who's new to the game or just wants to step up their game.
Our step-by-step approach will guide you through everything you need to know, from choosing the right events, to setting up your booth, to marketing your products effectively.
And you know what? You'll also get access to us for personalized coaching and feedback so you can put your best foot forward.
Do not let craft fairs, pop-ups, and events hold you back. Sign up for Rock Your Fair today and start rocking your way to success.
For a limited time, get access to our free mini course. Simply head over to our website at www.theseasonedmarketer.com and click on workshops.
I feel like we're just talking about the big three in this episode because Canva is my best friend.
It's your BFF.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not going to lie, these new AI capabilities, pretty cool. Do I use all of them? No, but I still want to talk about them because, I mean, they're really impressive, honestly.
Yeah, I do. I'm curious. I want to prompt people here to leave us like responses. So if you're watching us on YouTube, put this in the YouTube comments. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or whatever else, I'm almost certain that you can comment now on those platforms.
I think
please
so.
You can. So go ahead and do that. But I had uploaded this story on Instagram last weekend because, as you know, I've had the same camera for some time now. And I still sat there and I messed with the thing for like 10, 15 minutes because I was going through all the features on it, right? Yeah. And I was like changing settings. But you just said the same thing with Canva. You're like, it's got all of these AI features. Do I use all of them? No. So I'm curious. I want to know if this is just a Chelsea and Vivian thing, if we just sometimes utilize tools or equipment that we don't like 100% use to their full capacity or capability, or if this is something that's very natural. So if you guys are using Canva, how much of Canva are you fully utilizing? Do you know that you're just not using all the capabilities on there?
I will say specifically with Canva Magic and these AI features, they are not available on the free version. You do have to pay for Canva Pro. Or the, what is it, the work site? One of those two. Basically, you have to get a paid version of Canva.
Which is relatively inexpensive. So we do recommend, if you're looking, if you're still generating a lot of your own content, which most small business owners are, because since we have to be everywhere, like you're constantly generating stuff. Well, Chelsea, tell me, which AI tools do you use on there? Or do you like the most?
That I like the most, this is going to sound really funny because it's such a simple one, but it is so helpful. It's Magic Expand. If you are trying to put an image, a photo in a frame, and sometimes it cuts off like the main image that you want in the frame, if you use Magic Expand, it'll give you more space and you can fit it in there.
First of all, I love the memeing that you're doing right now on the on the video. So okay, well, great. So basically, it's being able to modify the image so that it fits what you're looking to do with it. If we're
another one,
okay,
I have three. So let me tell my two, because they are lifesavers. Okay, so second one is going to be background remover, which has been one that they've had, but they've really like got it to work real well. So that's a big one. I love that one. I love Magic Grab because let's say you have an image and let's say there's a person in the image, but you don't like where they are. You can grab them and move them.
Ooh,
I love it.
I have not tried that one. There's one that
It is a little bit of a hit or miss sometimes, depending on like how crisp the outline is. The images. But when it works, it works.
And so two things that I'm going to bring up is, number one, remember Canva, right? So it has within Canva, you guys, if you have a document that you want to work on, and it's kind of got like their own internal version of ChatGPT. And so what that will do is, like, when you bring up the document, you could just click on it and basically you could say, give me 5 ideas for X, Y, and Z, and it'll generate that, or whatever same stuff you would use in ChatGPT, they could do in Canva, right? Except that just remember they're not as robust because they're not in the AI, like that's not their main job, right? Graphic design, graphic shit is their main focus. It's not AI. All right. So the one that I've used quite a bit is Magic Edit. And let me explain what this does is basically if you upload a photo, and let's say I did this the other day. I was creating a thumbnail and it was a picture of my face. It was for YouTube. And I was like, it looks fine, but I kind of wish my lips were redder, right? Like the lipstick I was using was redder. So basically you can take a part of the image, like it will give you a highlighter. Basically you highlight over the part of the image and then you tell it what to replace it with, right? So like I highlighted my lips and I was like, make this redder, and it did. All right. Now, sometimes it doesn't look right, and it will tell you that it's not really good. It's not intended to be used on the face, but it did a fine job with that. But what this does is if you are creating, let's say, Instagram reel covers, or if you are creating YouTube thumbnails or something like that, and you want to just kind of oomph up that image to make something look a little different, you can use the Magic Edit part of it. So I think the big thing here is I highly recommend, if you guys are not using Canva, hello, like start using it. It's gonna change your life, I promise you.
Yeah.
Get the free trial. If you're weary about it and you're like, I don't even know if I'm gonna use it, get the free trial and see if you like it and if you're gonna use it, and then upgrade to the pro if you need to. And then number 2 is, if you are using Canva and you haven't tried any of these AI features that we're mentioning, go ahead and give them a try, because I guarantee you're going to be like, oh, wow, that's like either pretty cool or I can actually use it. It's useful.
Yeah. I do want to go through their other AI features real quick. So Magic Media, which I've dabbled with Magic Media. I've never actually used it in my final image. So let me explain what it is first. So Magic Media is when you give Canva a detailed description of the type of design or imagery that you want, and then it will create it for you. And it'll give you different options for the imagery.
Is this the one that you said was kind of wacky?
Yeah, it's... Specifically, if you're looking for photos, it does come out kind of wacky. If you're looking for designs, like, hey, I want to create a social media post about newborn babies and how to breastfeed them, we we do social media for a lactation consultant. I just want to point that out. That's why that was the first thing that came to my head.
Well, no, and I laugh because I'm so immature that I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's only one way to breastfeed a baby, but it's much more complicated, y'all. To what she's saying, there are other. Yes.
Yeah. But the point is, you give it a prompt and it will create a design. The designs aren't bad. I just tend to be super picky and I want to do it myself. And that's why I haven't used one of their designs, but the designs are pretty good. Photos, asking it to create an image is a little harder. But sometimes, it's a hit or miss. It's AI and it's still relatively new. And again, like you said, Canva is not in the AI business. They are in the graphic design business.
I actually have used that feature before, and let me tell you for what. So if you guys don't know, we actually have a course called Rock Your Fair Course. And so it basically is geared towards people that are out at markets and events and all that stuff, promoting their business. And so when we were doing the layout of the course, I remember that it was so limited on the photos and videos that I found of people with display tables. Yeah. And so I do remember there was one segment where we're talking about like promotional items or stuff like that. And I was very specifically looking for an image of someone handing out like a tote bag.
Yeah.
And so I asked it to generate it. And like you said, it was okay. Technically, I guess I could have used it. But when I saw it, I was like, why does this image look a little off to me? Like something looked off and I couldn't I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use it. But that was maybe a year ago. So since then, y'all, I am sure, because they are investing a lot of money back into Canva. I guarantee you it's probably a lot better now than when I was trying to use it then.
Absolutely. Probably. I haven't tried to use it in a while too. So another feature that I haven't used, but is an AI option, is bulk create. So basically you give Canva some examples and your brand, like your branding rules, the colors, stuff like that. You tell them what you want and it gives you multiple designs based on the information given. Would I use this? Probably not. Just because I feel like you can tell. You can tell when something is AI generated, right? There's just like a little bit of a disconnect. So maybe I've also never used bulk create, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it looks amazing.
You know me and my my random analogies. What this kind of reminds me of, and maybe the approach to it, is if you're going to use something like this, always customize it or modify it, right? So maybe it's a good basis and then or a good foundation, and then you can go in and actually work on it, build off
Yeah.
of it, right? And
I love
customize
that.
it. Yeah. And so that way it gives it that human touch. But it kind of reminds me of like these TikTok videos I see where people take like store-bought cakes, right? And they'll take all the frosting off of it, and then they kind of like just like build their own cake.
Okay.
Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they make it look like really, really good. So, anyways,
Yeah.
I don't know what that had to do with Canva.
No, I think that was a good example. I know what you were going for. Yeah. You said cake, and I was like, man, I really want cake. And then you said take off the icing, and I was like, well, that's the best part of the cake. Like, I was confused.
No, because then they pipe it and kind of redesign the whole thing. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So this is a really interesting one. Design check. Ooh. So the way that it works is that you create like your ad, your Facebook ad, your Google ad, whatever, and then you ask it to see if it's like to design check it. And what it does is it sees if your ad is optimized for whatever platform you're going to post it to. And it'll give you suggestions like, hey, maybe you want to change this or change the format or something like that. Like it will tell you, hey, for Facebook, you want to make these changes. For Google, you want to make these changes.
Chelsea, I think we need to do like a video on this, like a little TikTok video or something.
Yeah, I think so, because that, again, we haven't used it. We don't have any ads running right now, so
yeah,
interesting. We had no reason to try this out, but like, yeah, I kind of want to play around with that.
I mean, I'm thinking we should test like a Facebook ad and see what it tells us and whether or not it actually gives us pertinent information that we could utilize. Because listen, if any tool that's going to save me money in the sense that it's going to make my design better so that it's more efficient, all about.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly. And the last one, which is also a cool one that I might play around with, is highlights. Kind of like Opus Clip. Don't know how robust it is, but basically if you upload an unedited video, Canva will cut it into highlights. Do I think I can upload our hour-long podcast and get highlights?
You'd be there all day.
Yeah, exactly. No, but if you have like a 1-minute video that you haven't touched at all or anything, it'll give you the highlights from that video and clip it all together.
All right. Y'all are going to want to follow us on Instagram or TikTok, because what I'm thinking we do, Chelsea, is we have a 60-second countdown timer, and we basically take a short clip and we put one in Opus Clip and one in this. What's it called?
It's highlights.
Okay, in Canva's highlights, and then see the actual videos it generates to see which one's better. Right? So kind of like a heavyweight fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. Okay, we're totally going to do that. So guys, if you're not on our social media, go to our Instagram, go to our TikTok. It's at @𝘕𝘦𝘦𝘥.
Yeah, because we're going to figure out which one of these tools works better. Because I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if Canva's is so robust, that saves you a little money on a monthly basis because you're not paying for Opus Clip. But I will tell you, I feel like if I ever asked Chelsea to get rid of Opus Clip, I would have to like pry it from her little grubby dying hands. Like she'd be like, no, because it really is that good, y'all. It really is like it really is. Canva is going to have to wow her to get her to get rid of that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, Chelsea, I think that y'all, if anything, we just want to remind you, these are just 3 of the AI tools that we personally use and we recommend. And we promise you that they can provide value, maybe in a different format or way. You might not necessarily use these tools the same way we use them here at the Seasoned Marketer, but we hope that it's enough to spark an interest so that you guys will dive in and find these pockets of opportunities where you're like, hey, if I'm doing the same action every day, the same thing, the same task, why do I not see if there's a AI tool out there that can help me do this quicker? Right?
Yeah. And also these are just 3. Like, these are our top 3 that we use. There are plenty out there. We're not telling you that these are the only 3 you need to be using. Absolutely not. We're just saying these are the 3 that we have the most experience with, we use, and we love.
Yeah. There are like a gajillion billion of them at this time, and there will be more released, I'm sure, as the months progress in 2024.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking we need to bring Maya back on to talk about AI again. To talk about the changes and
probably like updates, because they've changed. I think the last time we had her on was a year ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, so if that's the case, y'all, we're going to have somebody, because we just know Maya will say yes to you. If you guys have questions regarding AI or regarding, sorry, I can't speak either, or regarding, I don't know why I'm yelling, regarding technology.
We're Hispanic.
Yeah, we always yell. Yeah. Technology questions, please send them our way. You can email Chelsea at Chelsea@theseasonedmarketer, and that way we can add them to our list of questions that we ask her that day, because I do think that we want to hear from you guys. What are real questions that you have that you want a tech expert to be answering? So that way we could get some of that resolved for you and just get some real answers.
And y'all, she is a real tech expert, okay? She went to college and everything. It was
Chelsea's like, she's not a fake tech expert. That I don't even know what does a fake tech expert look like? Like, what does that entail?
A dude, bro. To me.
Listen, we are not sexist on this podcast. We are not sexist. We love dudes.
You are correct.
And we love yes.
Bros.
We love bros. We love everybody, okay? If you know what you're talking about, we love you, okay? We don't want to absolutely. We don't like people fronting, that's all. Okay.
That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to this very interesting episode. Again, really quick, if you could leave us a review, that is so helpful. It helps us get in front of other small business owners. And again, at the end of the day, The Seasoned Marketer is all about helping small business owners feel confident and comfortable doing their own marketing. If you have any topics you want us to talk about, send them our way. And make sure that you share this with a fellow small business owner. And go be the best SOB you can be.